Chapter 67. A genius in 1 second remembers love go away? This is the web that provides you with wonderful novels to read. Luo Nan stared fixedly at the burning wraith within the elevator. The latter's attention shifted over accordingly. This was a sort of eye-to-eye contact. 6 bewitching flames lit up on the head of the burning wraith. They were 2 parallel rows, truly resembling the eyes of a spider. The color of each eye was different. They were divided into 6 colors: dusky yellow, dark red, light gray, ghostly green, deathly white, and jet black. Each dot was extremely small, but the color of each dot swayed back and forth. It was bewitching and strange, making one dizzy. Luo Nan looked over, and many muddy and chaotic thoughts arose from the bottom of his heart. His entire mood swelled with irritation. He wished he could smash something to vent his emotions. Fortunately, the heavily chained crow trembled as its vibrating sound swept over, suppressing these inexplicable emotions and distracting thoughts. The demonic eyes of the burning wraith flickered and changed, clearly noticing Luo Nan's heavily chained crow. Of course, there was also the wraith sign that flickered at the very front. In Luo Nan's eyes, its first action was to assume a pouncing posture. This was no different from the reaction of its kind in the school's medical department this morning. Luo Nan also assumed a defensive posture, preparing to give it a painful head-on attack. However, this burning wraith didn't actually pounce over. On the contrary, it even retreated a bit to increase the distance between it and Luo Nan. Its blurry face slightly tilted upwards, and it let out a shriek that was hard for ordinary people to hear, but it surged on the mental plane. Luo Nan's heart jumped. He practically instantly thought of the fearful roar from yesterday on the warship. He didn't have time to think too much. The heavily chained crow hummed as it broke through the air, striking directly at the burning wraith. But the enormous wave of the mental attack came even faster. When the heavily chained crow touched the burning wraith, Xianxia behind him had already let out a shriek. Her emotions of fear burst forth, and her entire body crashed into the inner wall of the elevator. She wanted to find a way to escape, but she simply didn't have any opportunity to do so. Her entire body stiffened, and her eyes slightly bulged out from fear. A dark red bloody light soared from her body, shooting straight at the burning wraith. She instantly became dispirited and fainted as the bloody light broke out from her body. Luo Nan was truly unable to obstruct this sort of incorporeal method. He himself needed to rely on the suppression of the heavily chained crow in order to stabilize his mind and his surging blood and energy. And the chains that traversed through the air seemed to have been affected by the main body. Once this strengthening came to an end, Luo Nan really didn't know what kind of terrifying attack would come next. As for Luo Nan himself, it seemed that he had reached his limit. These sorts of chaotic thoughts merely flashed before they were completely dispelled. Actually, there was still one more move. Luo Nan no longer looked at the human-faced arachnid. Instead, he closed his eyes and forced himself to enter the fixed space. Thanks to these past 2 days of difficult tempering, Luo Nan's mental state had made considerable progress. The visualization diagram of the tetrahedron, the inscribed sphere, and the outer scribed sphere appeared in the void in the blink of an eye. The heavily chained crow pulled out from the central region of the human-faced arachnid. It extended outward segment by segment in an attempt to penetrate deeper into the human-faced arachnid. But no matter what, it was separated by a layer. It was far from reaching the destructive might it had when it first subdued the burning wraith. Before, Luo Nan believed that it was because the human-faced arachnid was excessively powerful. But now he had other thoughts. Perhaps the problem lay with him. What state was he in when the heavily chained crow displayed its greatest power? There was only one answer: the out-of-body state. The feeling of being transparent and clear, which disregarded all material objects, had disappeared ever since he returned to the out-of-body state. Luo Nan didn't understand the reasoning behind it, but the threat was right in front of him. He didn't have the time to ponder over it. Even if he treated a dead horse as a living one, he still had to go. The out-of-body state was an unfamiliar experience for Luo Nan. At first he was struck by the siege hammer of the burning wraith. Then he was pulled by the heavily chained crow, forcing him into an out-of-body state. Now he had to take the initiative and continue his train of thought from back then. He transmitted the relevant thoughts through the heavily chained crow to the wraith sign. A marvelous vibration was transmitted back, instantly washing over his entire body. This time Luo Nan's senses were even clearer. He clearly touched upon an incorporeal membrane. Originally, he didn't have the strength to break it, but under the pull of an external force, the internal and external attacks intersected. A hole instantly split open in this membrane. He immediately lost his bindings and floated up. Luo Nan's eyes were still closed, but his senses on the mental plane were completely opened. And at this moment he met the peerlessly bizarre gaze of the human-faced arachnid. In the state of a soul body, the rattling sound of the heavily chained crow's trembling seemed to be even more fine and clear. It was precisely this subtle change that made Luo Nan instantly understand that his judgment was correct. The previous barrier wasn't because of any other reason.